Business news from the Capital Region. This is Washington Business Report with ABC7 national correspondent Rebecca Cooper.
Thanks for joining us for a fresh look at business and finance and how it affects you. Coming up on today's show, an insider's look at what to look for in the economy over the next few months. Plus, our roundtable tackles the repercussions of falling oil prices, the possibility of maternity leave that may be paid, and other hot topics this week, including whether our region is in decline. But first, our one-on-one. Our newsmaker today is a man who made big news this past year when he was tapped as the new CEO of Leadership Greater Washington, the organization that brings together the top men and women in business, government, education, and philanthropy to forge new partnerships and focus on making our region the best that it can be. But for 3 decades, Doug Duncan served in public office, first as a Rockville City Council member, then mayor, then for a record-setting more than 2 decades, Doug Duncan led Montgomery County as county executive. Duncan was deemed one of the most prominent and powerful leaders in the Washington region and the state of Maryland. But then, a shock to everyone, Duncan dropped out of the race for governor, citing clinical depression. But in the years since, he has made his voice even more powerful, coming back from depression to once again serve as a leader in the region, and now a powerful voice for overcoming even the darkest days. Doug Duncan, welcome to Washington Business Report.
Rebecca, thank you very much. Great to be with you here this morning.
I should say I wanted to be a part of Leadership Greater Washington. You have classes every year that people are part of, and this year I get to be part of the class of 2015. It's a great honor.
And I'm one of your classmates.
You were one of my classmates as well as our leader.
I get to be in the class this year. I'm very excited about it.
And
it's
the
a great
reason
organization.
Not only is it very competitive to get selected, but you have to make a big commitment. There are monthly classes daily, and the whole purpose of Leadership Greater Washington is to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, to get to know other parts of the city that may not be in your swim lane, may not be in your industry. Beyond that, what is the purpose?
That's right. Well, each year we bring together about 60 different regional leaders from government, from business, from the nonprofit sector, and educate them about the region, the challenges and the issues facing the region, and help them create new friendships, new bonds with people they really would never have met if it weren't for Leadership Greater Washington.
It's true. I mean, there are so many people in so many different areas of leadership in Washington, it becomes very difficult to kind of cross over to other areas. My class alone is just full of amazing leaders from the world of business, academia, philanthropy, and media. Then beyond that, what is the purpose? What are you trying to get Leadership Greater Washington to do? And
it's region-wide, which I think is very, very important. We're going into the district, into Virginia, into Maryland, and bringing people together. They hired me several months ago to come in and to take an excellent organization and try to make it better, try to make it more visible, try to have more of a community impact on the region. And we're taking a look at several different ways to do that. You know, one thing I'm excited about is we're starting a series of conversations about topics facing the region, facing the country even, and we've got one at the end of this month on police-community relations, with what we saw in Ferguson, with what we saw with Eric Garner, with what we saw in Brooklyn, the shootings of the officers there. There's got to be a lot of discussion of how police and the community get along and what they should expect from each other, and I think Leadership Greater Washington can play a role in helping facilitate that conversation here in the Washington region.
I'm blessed in this job that I get to be exposed to so many different parts of the city and its leaders and its leading institutions, but I've learned so much as well. Our class alone, in visiting Arena Theater, in visiting seed schools, and visiting Montgomery County to meet with the police chief and talk about some of those issues that you talked about. You really do focus on all the different parts of this community, but parts that need all the leaders to come together and be a part of if it's going to go from good to great.
That's right. We take 10 months out of the year, and every month, once a day, we meet together for a full day and talk about a particular topic and issue facing the region. And it's arts, it's poverty, it's economic development, it's health, it's education, a lot of transportation, a lot of other issues.
Muriel Bowser, a proud graduate, and lots of other leading political officials. I want to get on to talking more broadly about your career and about your outlook for this region, because you stunned so many people when you dropped out of the race for governor. You were coming on strong. You were starting to build greater name recognition in the Baltimore area, taking on Governor O'Malley. A lot of people were seeing you as the guy to beat, and you said, I can't do it. Later, you came back and said, I was actually dealing with this depression even longer than you had realized. Talk a little bit about that journey.
Well, it was a horrible time in my life, and depression is a horrible illness. I would not wish it on anyone. and I was dealing with it for a couple years, not realizing what it was. And actually, I was dealing with it for longer than that as I look back, at a low level.
You had a father who was bipolar, a grandfather who was bipolar.
Yes.
Shot himself, was hospitalized for 2 decades. You have not been diagnosed bipolar. You diagnosed low-grade clinical depression. How have you treated it? How are you overcoming it so that you can still be so vital?
I was actually sitting at Mass in church and just miserable. And all of a sudden it hit me that I was depressed. And I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out, given my family history.
But you were in the middle of a race for governor.
Well,
you thought you were tired.
I thought it was just the stress of the job as county executive, the stress of the campaign, and realized, no, there's something much deeper here. So I went to see a psychiatrist right after that, or a day later, and was diagnosed with major depression, and went to a therapist and got treatment there, and I got medicine to help me.
You've been very candid. You told the Washington Post you still take Prozac every day. You still grapple
absolutely.
with this.
I never want to go back there again. It is a scary place. It's a very scary place. I never want to go back there again. And I want to talk to people saying that treatment works. That's the story of my life. That you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to feel that way. You don't have to get to the levels of committing suicide, which we see too many people today doing. Treatment works. You can feel better. Please get treatment.
I admired you before because you were such an effective county executive, but I told you my father self-medicated, undiagnosed bipolar for too long with alcohol before he was diagnosed. So I salute you for being so candid about what your whole family faced and how you're facing it. So now you're back as a very powerful leader.
Yeah, I needed to take time and get myself healthy again. I've dropped out of the governor's race because I just said I can't do it. For my family and myself, I need to get healthy again, and took time to do that, and am back stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. And now we're at an important time. Right now, this week, Stephen Fuller from George Mason analyzed the region as a possibility of decline. We're going to talk about that more later in the show, but just quickly, I want to get your take. Agree or disagree that the Washington area may be in a period of decline? We've only got about 30 seconds.
I think there's a real challenge in front of us. I do think we are entering perhaps a period of decline if we don't turn our economic fortunes around. And we are growing jobs, but we're growing low-wage jobs. We're losing high-wage jobs. And frankly, I think the suburbs are going to be in for a rough time. I think Montgomery County is going to have several rough years ahead of it. I think that the district hopefully will continue to do well, but even they've got the right kind of job growth problems. What's
the most important thing? Focusing on diversifying our economy, or what would you say is the number one?
Clearly that needs to be part of it, but we need to speak as a region, and I think that's why I'm so proud to be at Leadership Greater Washington, why Tony Williams is the Federal City Council. We need people to come together and look at us as a region within the region, and that will help solve some of our problems.
And Stephen Fuller pointed to that as what he thinks is one of the problems.
That's
right. Doug, Duncan, I could talk to you for an hour on each of these subjects. I wish we had more time. We're going to have you back. Thanks so much for joining us on Washington Business Report. Thank you.